Is that something you really like? Being able to do it with me?
Yeah.
And do it with me? Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, Car Edition. Woo!
Truck edition.
Truck edition, yeah. This morning on Twitter, I got on and I said, hey, I'm gonna do a marriage Q&A with Dan. Send me questions. I almost didn't have you guys ask questions because I feel like I kind of know what questions you guys wanna know, and I get asked a lot of the same questions a lot, but I'm really glad that I put it out there because there were a lot of very interesting, unique questions that came through this morning on Twitter. So Dan and I are gonna answer some questions together. It does feel like he's on the other side of the ocean though in this truck, because there is a lot of space between. To everyone who doesn't know who Dan is clearly my husband. That's why he's in this marriage Q&A. Here he is, looking cute, just driving the truck. I'm gonna go ahead and jump right in, but actually before I do, I just wanna say a couple of basic things that I feel like people are gonna wanna know, that maybe if you're newer to my channel, you don't know this. Dan and I have been married for 9 years. In a couple weeks. February 23rd, it'll be 9 years. We did get married really young. That's another question a lot of people ask is, okay, how old were you when you got married? I was 20, he was 21. He is 30 now, and I am gonna be 30 this year. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna open up these questions. And this is from @PalePurpleDress or Olivia, and she says, what is the best part about being married? And what has God done for you in marriage?
Well, what God has done for us in the marriage, it's definitely helped us grow as people. That's the main thing.
Yeah, I'd say that for me, my answer would be that being married has made me a more well-rounded person. Like, I feel like before you, I used to be a lot more, I don't know, like just some of my personality extremes were more extreme before being married to him, because it was just me by myself, first off, so I could kind of just do whatever I wanted, and it was just me in my own head. But now, being married to you, having like a whole different perspective on life and opinions about things like the Sabbath, which I know I've pointed to that like a bunch of times in our marriage, but just the whole concept of rest and stuff like that, I feel like you have made me rest a lot more, which is good because we found out that my poor little body needs a lot of rest.
And you don't have to do anything yourself anymore.
What do you mean?
Like life, you don't have to do it by yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Not alone.
Oh, is that something you really like? Being able to do it with me?
Yeah.
And do it with me? I guess, okay, so that was the answer to what God has done. And I'd say the best part of marriage was what you just said. Yeah. Not having to do life alone. And I feel like that's not necessarily a good reason to get, like, oh, I just don't want to be alone, so I'm just gonna get married. But like, it is a really awesome part about being married. You were about to get real angry right now, weren't you?
Did you see what he did?
He didn't even do anything that crazy. No. So Corinne Wallner asked, how long have y'all been together and when is your anniversary? But we already answered that. Yeah. 9 years, February 23rd. So that's exciting. Someone said, Sarah says, when did you meet each other? I've told this story many times before, so I'll make it really fast. We met each other multiple times early in high school. He doesn't remember meeting me at that point, but I remember it very clearly. And every time I met him, he just didn't pay much attention to me, didn't really notice me. And then when I was around 19 years old, he came to a concert that I was singing in, and it was actually at a local community college. It was the final, was this singing concert, and he came with his friend who was also in the class, and that was when I was 19. And pretty much from that point on was when we started like.
You were 18.
Oh, you're right, because it was my 19th birthday party
that I crashed.
Yeah.
And that's when it started.
Yeah. Something
took around 30 dates or something like that.
Yeah, you did.
30 dates.
30 dates.
Every day.
Yeah, you took me on a date every single day after my 19th birthday party when we started hanging out.
It wasn't 30 because we had started dating like 3 weeks after that, officially. But
yeah.
We started dating literally the day after your birthday. I mean, those are dates.
Basically. I mean, I didn't realize we were dating. I thought we were hanging out. I thought if this guy likes me, he'd make a move on me, and he's not making any kind, which I don't know where I got that like measurement from, because it's not like I was out hooking up with guys or anything, but I just thought like, well, he would try to kiss me or something if he liked me, and he was always giving me Christian boy hugs, I always call it. You know, where you keep your pelvis away.
I used to just hook up with girls, and you knew that. That was my stupid reputation back then. So
Yeah, so that's probably why I thought that.
With you because I didn't want to make you feel like that. Like I was just using you.
Yeah. So we had like opposite perspectives, that because that was your past, I thought, well, if he liked me, he'd be making a move on me. But for him, he knew that that wasn't like a great reputation to have, so he didn't want to make me feel that way.
I didn't want to play myself.
You didn't want to play yourself? He didn't want to play himself. Did you fart?
No.
Okay, good.
I think that was, I don't know. I own up to it.
You do.
You know that.
I'm actually gonna set this up now that we're parking. So hold on. This is a good one. Although it's pretty easy and quick. Who cooks better?
She does.
Me. You like to cook though.
We cook together.
Yeah.
But I do what you tell me. So
I love that we share that passion though for food and cooking, that it's not just me in the kitchen. I mean, whatever, everybody's got a different setup, but I love that you join me in the kitchen and you'll cook with me, and that you're really into the food that I make for the most part. I really like that.
But if I want meat or whatever, she doesn't make that. I'll do that myself.
Yeah, I don't
suck
cook
at
any
it
meat.
anyways.
Hey, you like your meat. Just because other people don't like your meat doesn't mean it's not good.
No,
well, don't they always give you a hassle about cooking it dry or something? I don't know.
Yeah,
but
I don't. I used to like overcooked meat, but I don't anymore. So.
Oh, you don't?
But if I cook meat, it's like in like a spaghetti sauce or whatever, or bacon.
Brianna Hurtendy tweeted us a bunch of really interesting questions that have nothing to do with being a couple. But they were questions like, do you believe in the Mandela effect? Which Dan does not believe in the Mandela effect,
yes,
right?
I do.
You do? You just believe that it's fake news. That's why people have that happen, right?
Yeah, that's how it happens.
From fake news.
Of course the effect is real, but it's not like, oh, it never was that, but people thought it was this.
Well, the whole theory behind it is the whole parallel universe thing. That's the whole theory, is that they believe
bullshit.
There are things that happen and it jets off into like different stories, so people have memories of something happening.
Okay, the famous one, like you were saying earlier, the line in Star Wars, Luke, I'm your father.
Yeah, but you're part of the population
people will say that in media or whatever. I remember seeing what's-his-face in Full House say that line in an episode, Luke, I'm your father, and everyone's like, oh, that's the line. But that's not the line.
That's
and
what
it
you
never
think.
was. It never was the line.
But you know that that's what you think, right? That's the point of the Mandela effect, is that a chunk of people would swear.
Okay.
No, I've watched the movie a million times.
Yeah.
But you just don't believe in it.
I don't believe in it.
Yeah, you don't believe in it. You think that it's just confusion.
Yeah, it's just confusion.
I think
they
it is too.
They made the movie one time.
I think it is too, except the Mandela effect is named after Mandela, and I remember growing up thinking he was dead, and then at some point being like, wait, homie's not dead? Because I could have sworn I read in like a history book that he died in prison. But apparently that's the popular like misbelief, and there was even a book published where they wrote that he died in prison. But
fake news isn't a new thing, y'all.
There you go. Dan and I, this is a side note, so Dan and I started doing this thing. By started meaning we only have done it like twice, but and I'm not talking about our money meeting, like the whole questions thing.
Oh,
where basically you ask each other questions, like couples questions. I actually think that this would be a really fun video series to do, possibly, unless we just don't want to air our lives out there for everyone, but where we show you guys some of these questions. Basically, there's questions online that are like questions for couples and just ways for you guys to get to learn more things about each other. And so Dan and I actually asked each other this question, but I don't remember what his answer was, so apparently I didn't do a very good job of paying attention. If you could meet anyone that died, who would it be?
I was gonna give this answer, but then I was like, no, Nikki's gonna give this answer, and I made her go first, and she said Abraham Lincoln.
That was gonna be your answer too?
Yeah.
Why? Go ahead, express yourself.
But that wasn't my answer. I didn't give that as my answer.
Oh, I thought you said you just didn't give it because I gave it.
That's exactly it.
So if you were going to give it, why was that your answer? Or do you just not even want to go?
I think Abraham Lincoln was a fascinating looking person. So it would just be interesting to meet him just to see like...
Yeah, he was a fascinating looking person.
Yeah, but you said you wanted to hear stories. I would want to talk to anyone that's been in battle.
Oh, that
So
was your answer.
I like hearing war stories. So, I don't know, George Washington, that guy was a badass.
Yeah, but he'd be an interesting person to meet.
They don't teach those, those war stories of his in the history books. I heard this on the radio.
Apparently they don't teach a lot of stuff in history books, because someone just told me that there was a history book circulating in the U.S. that tried to claim that black people came over as our friends.
Oh, jeez.
That they tried to completely eliminate the whole slavery aspect, which I was like, which history book was that? But whatever, go on.
So it was on a podcast or something. It's probably Joe Rogan's podcast, and they were saying that history books... No, it was like Comedy Central or something.
Close. Yeah. Joe Rogan's podcast,
but
Comedy
he made
Central.
a good point. Like, they teach a story of the old cherry tree.
Yeah.
Him and his dad and the old cherry tree.
Yeah.
And apparently that story is not true.
true.
It's not true at all, but it's in the history books. But, like, the stories of him fighting in battle, which are the interesting things.
Is what you'd want to know.
Yeah, so we're just learning fake crap about our first president, not the real stuff.
I was just going to say, when you were like, fake news isn't new, y'all, I feel like there's this thing sweeping the country right now where everyone's like, fake news, and like you just said, I'm like, but I think it's always been a thing. And maybe because I'm homeschooled, so I'm one of those homeschooled kids that I grew up not trusting anyone in that sense. Like, I've just always seen it as like, not this big... like cool thing that they wrote a book. I've always been like, but where are your sources? Who's paying you? Who funded this research? Like, plus on top of that, have you ever heard that thing where like, if there's like a witness to a crime or there's multiple witnesses, all of the witnesses will have slightly different stories? It's kind of like how when we watch that Brain documentary, like what even is reality? You're just a witness of what you think reality is, watching it through the lens of your experiences, and you're trusting your senses. You're trusting that your brain actually perceived.
We need to rewatch that documentary, because that was literally the most fascinating thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, that was really good. It's called, it's by David Eagleman on PBS. It's called The Brain. It's really good, but you have to be a PBS like paying member, but it's like $5 a month, and they have so much good programming on there. Yeah. So my answer, like he said, was Abraham Lincoln, and the reason my answer was Abraham Lincoln is because, probably like most people, I have an extreme fascination and admiration for people who do the right thing, even if it's extremely unpopular. And I look back at that time in history, and I see him as someone who decided to take like the moral compass of our country and was like, this is not good, we're rerouting it, even though he knew that so many people were so vehemently opposed, and that it was going to have economic effects that were going to be huge, and like all this stuff. So I really admire, I would want to meet him. We just went off on a tangent from one girl's question, but hey, thanks, Bree.
You read off a lot of good questions earlier.
Well, this one girl, Bree, sent in like a lot of good questions.
She asked a question earlier. Do you believe any conspiracy theories? Do you?
I know you do. Do I? I was just thinking about this the other day, and I remembered thinking like that there are some conspiracy theories that I believe in, and I don't remember what it was. I know one that I kind of believe, because I don't want to just leave them hanging with no answer. This is super vague, but we've kind of talked about this a bit. Well, do I want to say this? I'm like, do I want to say it? I totally believe in like mafia and mob involvement in the government throughout history.
Oh my God, dude.
What?
Well, of course it's all true.
Oh, I was like, what?
John F. Kennedy's parents were in the mafia, and then that's basically how he got into office.
This is what you think, yeah.
Everyone knows Frank Sinatra was in the mafia.
Yeah.
And JFK used to hang out with Frank Sinatra, and then
and the whole Marilyn Monroe death
thing. They wanted him to do things, and then JFK kind of went straight and was like, I'm not going to involve with you guys anymore, and then he stopped hanging out with Frank Sinatra, and then all of a sudden he's dead.
Yeah, see, I kind of believe that. And every old person that I know, and I mean, it's not random because I know Marilyn had ties to JFK, but every old person that I know, they're not old, but you know what I'm saying, they've all said the same thing to me, that they think something was not right with how she died, and the way it was handled in the press, the way it was handled by the police department, that like something was off, and it did not seem like a straight up suicide. He is a I know, but I don't know if he'll say it. You don't
No,
have
I'll
to
say it.
On to a lighter topic. We'll go to a lighter topic now. What is the best trip that you guys went on together? That's hard.
All the Hawaii trips.
I know. It's all in the same, like, lump. Hawaii.
Every time we went to Hawaii.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, we went in and I got tea, too. That's where he drove me, was to get some tea.
I got a Monster at home, but I gotta wait till I get home.
Oh, I'm sorry. But yeah, I'd say Hawaii. Hawaii's an answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's turn on some air conditioning. We'll call lightning round. At
Okay.
Caitlin Allen, if you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be? Should we guess it for each other?
Yeah, you can try.
I'm gonna guess pasta for you.
Yes and no. I would say greasy Chinese food.
Okay, what do you think mine is?
Bagels.
Yep, that's exactly what I was thinking. I love
Specifically
bagels.
toasted butter bagels.
Double toasted butter bagels. Get it right. Get it tight. Get it right. Get it right. All right. Do you have anything that if you could go back in time, what would you tell your younger self?
Well, I would go back in time once the lottery won, and then I'd go back a day before and I'd get that ticket.
That's what you'd go back and tell yourself? The lottery? Go get the lottery ticket.
I don't want to change the life I already have. Other than being filthy rich.
You wouldn't give yourself some encouragement?
Encouragement?
Or did you not stress out that much about anything?
Yeah, I do. I don't need that.
Yeah, I don't need that encouragement. Whatever.
Just keep doing what you're doing.
Well,
that's a waste.
I'd probably go back and I'd probably tell myself everything, at least up until this point, everything's okay.
You should probably go back and tell yourself to not dance.
That's possibly a good idea.
That's what I'd tell you.
I miss it so much. I miss it so much.
Would you rather dance
or
and
be
have
healthy now?
no knee and hip?
I'd rather not dance. I'd rather just have a healthy enough body, because there are other things. It's not dancing, but at least I get to express myself musically through like singing and piano playing. But now just like physical movement, I would have been happy being like a yogi or like a Pilates person, and right now I'm not able to do either one. Although I am talking to my physical therapist soon about doing Pilates.
Because if someone's like, man, I love surfing, and then one day they got their leg bit off or their arm, they would probably go back and be like, if I had a choice, I'd rather not surf. Some people would, some people that actually happen to, they still go back and surf.
Yeah.
But then if you had to ask them, would you rather not surf or have your arm? They might choose that arm.
We should ask, what's her name, Bethany?
Yeah, well, she might say no.
She still surfs.
Because she's still surfing, but it's not like you can't go, oh, I don't want to surf again.
Yeah.
Because the probability's so low that, she already got the arm bitten off, so she's safe for the rest of her life, I'd say.
Well, I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, right?
Okay, so speaking, oh my God, that Bree girl asked, would you ever swim with sharks? Speaking of sharks. No, never.
I think they smell fear and poop, and I would do both.
And this is another question from her. She gives so many good questions. Do you believe in ghosts?
No. Well, yes.
Or what do you think ghosts are?
I think there's different realms and dimensions, and things cross over for sure.
So like
I don't believe
angels, demons, more along that line.
Yeah, I don't believe they're floating around, and I don't believe that they were actually other people. Like, you don't die and come back and like hang around.
Gotcha. So
that's what a ghost is, or that's what.
Yeah, and you don't believe in that?
No.
I don't believe in that either. But I do believe in otherworldly beings, be it angels or demons or aliens, which I totally do.
Yeah,
I can't say I believe in aliens, but I would never say that I don't believe in aliens.
Have people seen aliens before? Absolutely.
My
Are
dad
they
would
actually
swear
aliens?
on his deathbed
No.
that he has seen a UFO.
Are they actually
But he'll
UFOs
always say
or
that-
aliens? No, but people see shit, especially ones that do drugs or have done
That's
drugs.
what he always says. He's like, your dad did too many drugs growing up. I'm like, I know, but he would still sit here and swear that he saw a UFO and he was sober when it happened. But there are leftover remnants that happened from doing drugs. But I would not go so far as to say I believe in aliens, but I would never say I didn't, because I think that there is too much out there. It's too big, and we know the tiniest tip of the iceberg.
Oh, do other things
exist
other than the planet Earth? Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Is that what you're going to say? You believe that?
Well, there's an infinite amount of other planets out there.
Yeah.
And so it would be really ignorant to say that Ours is the only one that has stuff growing on it.
Yeah. I think you can believe that. I think you can be like, no, I believe that we're it. But the people who are like, there's nothing out there, and they get really angry about it, I'm like, whoa, like, you don't have to, even people that are other Christians, I know, will say things like, well, how do you reconcile the Bible with that? I personally believe, I don't know what you think, but I personally believe that not every single thing has to be, like, if it's not in the Bible, I just see it like, well, we don't have to know. Or like, not everything is you know?
Well, and people go, oh, well, you know, the Bible only dates back so far, but scientists say the planet is 1 billion or 2 billion years old. It's like, well, I still believe in creation, and if he can create something out of nothing, he can also create it to be 1 billion years old right off the bat, because before anything was created, time wasn't even created yet. So time had to be created. And then so that just is already mind-blowing in itself.
Yeah.
So.
Well, if we can make shabby chic furniture that's made to look aged, then God can certainly make a planet that is made to look aged.
There you go.
We can answer this. We'll see if I keep it.
Come on, lightning round. This is not lightning round.
What's the hardest thing about being a YouTuber, and do you have any regrets about choosing YouTube as a career? Do you want me to answer? You to answer? Both answer?
Go ahead.
My immediate reaction is probably the hardest thing about being a YouTuber is the mental trip of it, because I think that it still just takes a while to get used to, like, pouring your heart into something and having some people really like it, some people not like it. Some things will get a ton of views, and then some things nobody watches it, and you're like, did I suck? Did I not make a good video? I tried really hard. It's kind of a mental trip. And also having people just say really mean things is pretty hard.
I think the reason why being a YouTuber is a hard job, because when I was a welder, I'd go to work, and I would enjoy it. I'd laugh. I'd do the work. I enjoyed it. And, you know, some jobs you can complete in one day, some in 1 week. And then you do it all over again. Different job, new day. But you were never graded on your work before, during, and after every single day. You just got to start and then complete it. And with YouTube, you constantly have a scorecard, and then people criticizing you every day. So,
but then the scorecard's kind of fake sometimes too.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's art, so it's like, well, what makes this bad or good? Is that bad or good? Or is it just, it's also relative, and it's not so clear. Like we always say with him racing, which to those of you that didn't know, Dan is officially now a NASCAR driver. He's racing in the K&N Pro Series this year for the West Coast. So, and that's been something that, like, he's worked to do for the last few years, and YouTube has been a big reason he's been able to do it. But point being is that even with racing, like, it's pretty clear if someone loses or wins.
Yeah.
And there is, like, a lot of other details and up and down stuff that could torment you. But for the most part, it's pretty clear, like, where did you cross the finish line?
Yeah.
That's how you do. But on YouTube, it's like, how do you judge it? You don't want to just judge it by views, because it's like, is life really all about views? No. But then it's like, sometimes you think you're really proud of something, and then other people will just tear it down. And how do you take criticism, but still, like, stick to your vision? It's just kind of that. You guys are literally getting an insight into, like, that. It's a mental trip.
I mean, you could do a video art. You could use your cell phone. You can use, you know, whatever, or you can be using a Red camera. I mean, with racing, equipment definitely has a big
part of it.
A big part of it. And there is an art to driving, but yeah, like you said, there's a winner and there's 40 other losers. So
yeah, it's like pretty clear what the situation is. I feel like a question we didn't answer that a lot of people are going to want to know is how we resolve conflict. Now, you're not in this video, so maybe your answer is different, but I did do a Q&A with Cambria, or Brie Loves Beauty, here on YouTube, all about marriage, and we talked about conflict in marriage.
Wasn't I behind the camera on that one?
You were behind the camera on that one.
I was there.
He was there. So I'm going to link that video down below. A lot of people have really seemed to like that video. Don't you think that's a better idea than going into it right now?
Yeah.
Unless you have something that you'd like to say about...
We have 7% battery left.
Do you have anything about conflict, though, you'd like to say that maybe I didn't say in that video? Or
I don't
anything
remember.
You feel like saying about conflict?
I mean, you just gotta use common sense, and then you just have to be forgiving. And,
Yeah.
you know, it's easy to be, when you're angry, just to play the blame game, but you just look at it logically and go, well, what could have I done different? And most of the time, you can figure that out in your head, how you could have done something different. And then it's a lot easier for you to be apologetic. And then when you apologize, it's usually means it's over.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I love playing the blame
But you
game.
gotta be genuine.
Yeah.
And you gotta make it sound like you really mean it.
Make it sound.
You can't just say you're sorry, because that doesn't count. Because
Yeah.
that doesn't get any message across.
Yeah, you're really good. You've always been really good about being very, like, humble in fights. He's very quick to, as you could tell even by his explanation, like, he's really quick to be like, oh, I did this. Like, this makes sense that would upset you. I, on the other hand, am not. I wouldn't say that I'm horrible at apologizing, but I definitely wouldn't give myself a gold star. So on that note, we're gonna go now. It really is dying. I also realized that my whole face has had shadows on it the whole time. Let us know in the comments if you guys want to see more videos of us together. I'm assuming you do. I don't know why I'm begging for comments, but just let me know what you think, what your thoughts are. And if you have any other questions we didn't answer, and maybe we can do another part 2 or another Q&A soon. Maybe.
Or bi-weekly, or bi-monthly.
Yeah,
or biannually.
Or do podcasts where we talk about all of our conspiracies.
Yeah.
I want to say this is something Dan and I have in common, is we're both really into conspiracy, political, like, research and conversations around that. He spends a lot of time listening to podcasts, watching videos. I do too.
I just love Joe Rogan's podcast. That's it.
You love Joe Rogan.
That's the only podcast I listen to. But I watch them on YouTube. He has a lot of interesting people on that show. I mean, they talk a lot about fighting, because he brings his fight friends on there, but he brings scientists on there and comedians, and man, they have fascinating conversations.
I really like Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna bounce now, guys. I will see you soon, and
Let's go.